hello everybody. My name is Sophie Merowitz. I'm a senior content manager here at PR News, and today I will be talking with Kelly Stone, who is the senior director of global social media for CompTIA, which is a major player in the IT, trade association, nonprofit space. And we're going to be talking about LinkedIn Live. So we're going to get a little meta today, talking about LinkedIn Live best practices on LinkedIn Live. I do encourage you to ask questions in the comments, and if we have time, we will get to them. If not, they'll make for a really great PR News article down the line. So we are doing these LinkedIn Lives every week with a member of our PR and social media community. And today, as I mentioned, we're going to be discussing some LinkedIn Live best practices. At the top of these LinkedIn Lives, we like to kind of look at what we've been covering on prnewsonline.com in our publication. And this week, of course, we are discussing diversity, equity, and inclusion in light of national protests and unrest after the deaths of Black Americans due to the police. So it's a tough topic. It's a heavy subject. We're not going to go into it within the confines of this live, but my colleague Nicole Schumann did write a really great article about internal communications and how we as communicators have the talents and the skill sets to really address diversity, equity, and inclusion within our organizations, in our networks, in our personal lives. So Kelly, you're in the Chicago area, you are running global social media at this amazing organization. How is that conversation playing out in your network, in your community?
Absolutely. It's been something that we've been working on as an organization, both internally and externally, for a long time. The IT industry does tend to have a little bit of a look to it, and that's something that we're trying to break down. The fact of the matter is that there are far more jobs in cybersecurity, tech, IT than there are people to fill them. We need more minorities, women, et cetera, in this organization, in this industry, in order to move the industry forward. So we've had a diversity community for a number of years. We've actually recently rebranded it as Advancing Tech Talent and Diversity in IT. So that encompasses young people, people of color, women, et cetera, to try and advance the industry for these populations. We've also created a diversity and inclusion white paper and toolkit for IT employers so that they can perpetuate this as well.
Great. Thank you for doing that work, Kelly. So we're now going to move into the core of our discussion today, which is LinkedIn Live as a tool and as a new strategy for communicators. It's a relatively new tool. I know it's been a great discovery for you, Kelly, at your organization. And this is actually my first time doing a LinkedIn Live. So, feel free to roast me if I hitting any of the bad practices. But yeah, tell me a little bit about, what you've done at CompTIA and what you're discovering about LinkedIn, and we'll go into the do's and don'ts in a moment.
Sure. The executive summary that I have for LinkedIn Live is don't sleep on this tool. I had very strong opinions about the value of LinkedIn as part of your social media and marketing stack before this happened. And I have to hand it to a member of my team, Joe Grace. He identified this as an opportunity and said, we should apply, we should get in on this. It took about 7 days for our application to be reviewed and approved. And we were one of the first organizations that I saw in my network that was using this tool. So we got access. Our first sort of exploratory broadcast was at the beginning of March, which is very important, timeline speaking. And we were blown away. While we were live, the engagement was 95%. I was live for the first time for just a couple of minutes to tee up a later broadcast, and the amount of comments that we got was overwhelming. So as we moved into work at home and all of these various remote tools, this has been a very important part of our communication strategy to cut through the noise of every company you've bought something from since 2011 telling you their COVID response plan. So for us, it's been really important. And I can't stress enough that it's been close to free, which is also an important aspect of this. So
yeah, absolutely. Sure.
If you'd like to get into do's and don'ts, I can't see the bottom of these, so we'll do our best to fumble through. All right, the test for quality thing. I have a whole little toolkit of things that I'm using to make these broadcasts look and sound good. I have a Bluetooth headset. I've got this little microphone. Before I had this set up here, I had a green screen that popped up and attached to my camera. The whole concept being, we're at home. I wanted to buffer myself from the other people that are at home. And this is something that I do every time we bring a new guest on, is look at their background, make sure that there's not like dirty laundry or whatever in the background, and make sure that your lighting is appropriate. And we all look better when we're looking up towards a camera rather than down. So those are the sorts of things that we tweak at the beginning. I like your background, Sophie. to that end.
Thank you.
The second thing that I want to highlight is don't read off of a script in these. The best LinkedIn Lives that I've seen have been very conversational and casual, and it's really difficult to read from a script and still stare at the camera and make it look natural. So you could script it out, but don't read directly from it. Which leads me to a do, which is use these on-screen prompts, because it's making me stick to my notes, remind me what we were going to talk about. And it also allows those of you guys who are tuning in to signpost this conversation and figure out what we're talking about, even if maybe you're watching us on mute, which happens a lot. Oh, don't skip spell check. I made this mistake recently. So these things that appear on the screen, they appear exactly as you write them. And I recorded a video and broadcast it. And it was only upon editing that I realized that I misspelled the name of one of our products. So I'm fortunate enough that we have somebody in-house that can edit these things and clean it up, because I was mortified. So learn from my mistake. Okay, this is an important one. Don't use only on-screen or displayed links, because they're not interactive. So if I threw up a link on here that said, learn more at CompTIA.org, that's great, but I could also put that exact link, and I could make it trackable with a UTM in the description for this broadcast, and then people can click right on it while they're watching. So that helps. The speaker view. So what we're using right now is called StreamYard. There's only a handful of third-party software out there that makes these broadcasts work. You can't just go to LinkedIn, to your company page, and press live. It doesn't work that way. You need a third-party piece of software that works with the API to make these things go. PR News uses StreamYard. I use StreamYard. You can actually put up to 6 people on this screen and do a panel discussion. You can have 10 people in the backyard view of this. Nope, it's not backyard. It's backstage. And you can move people on and off screen. But something to keep in mind is if there's one person talking and all of these other little faces, it starts to look a little Brady Bunch. To eliminate that, when you're looking at the screen that previews what your viewers are using, if you right-click on the person that's talking, there's an option called speaker view, and that person's screen will then take up the entire screen. That way, it gives everybody who's not on screen an opportunity to take a sip, maybe check their notes, whatever, and it avoids the Brady Bunch effect. All right, this is an important don't. Don't use the simulcast option in StreamYard. So StreamYard works with any of the live broadcasting options that you may have as a result of your social media stack. So you could theoretically go live on YouTube, go live on Facebook, go live on LinkedIn all at the same time, depending on the level of your subscription. I pay for the $25 version. I'm sure that's what you guys are using too. So you could actually simulcast 2 sites. Yes. So I tried it. Don't do that, because what happens when you simulcast is the notifications go away. So right now, one of the powerful aspects of LinkedIn Live is that every single person that follows PR News got a notification that we're live. Every single person that follows CompTIA gets that notification when we go live. If you go live on more than one site, it doesn't happen. And I saw our engagement and viewership numbers plummet when that happened. But I have an alternative. If you want to advance to the next one, Sophie, I will reveal all of my secrets. So do make sure that you have a post-production plan. So what that looks like for us is StreamYard allows you to download the file of the broadcast, which is exactly as it appears here, which is why spell check is important. So you can download that file. You can then upload it to Facebook and use the premiere function. So you're not quite live, but it also creates a notification to your audience that you will premiere content at a certain time. It also creates that chat box that everybody loves that increases your engagement. You can do the same thing on YouTube. They also have a premiere function that opens the chat box. If you want to use it in a blog, if you want to use it on your organization's app, maybe a specific forum, this allows you to take that file and embed it elsewhere as well. So all of those things help. What else do we have there, Sophie? Did I already blow through all of them? Wow, okay.
Yeah, but luckily we've got a few questions. We've got a few questions coming in. So we have a question from Fabian, who's worried about some changes in the LinkedIn algorithm and wants to know how to increase interaction with pages, as well as, I suppose, lives like this.
For sure. We're always at the mercy of the algorithm and the algorithm changes. So keeping up with the latest tweak to that can be really difficult. So a couple of ways to increase your engagement on LinkedIn. We've actually increased the number of times that we post to our company page during the pandemic because we found it to be a powerful way to couple these lives with our outgoing blog content. We've experimented with times of the day because usership has changed immensely now that we're all home all the time. So I would say throw out any misconceptions that you may have about, 2 p.m. Tuesday is the best time to post. That may have been true in the before times. It probably is not true right now. One of the tricks that I use for LinkedIn Live and other live broadcasts, at the beginning of it, when I do my little intro about who I am and what we're going to talk about, I ask people to comment with the country that they're tuning in from. This does two things. It rockets up your engagement, but it also gives you a good idea of where people are actively watching from, so you can pick better time zones in the future. Hope that helps, Fabian.
Great. And Joe Labello has a question about how the notifications work. So what does that look like as a user? Can you track, who sees them or whether that actually drives more engagement?
Sure. So every person who follows your LinkedIn company page will get a notification. I got one on my mobile while we were sitting here that says PR News is live, and it will say the first line of the description. So that's why that's important as well. If you don't catch it while it's live, you will still have a notification that says PR News was live, and you can click on it and watch the rebroadcast of the video. Facebook has a similar function. If you use their live video, you can even schedule your live videos on Facebook using a couple of different pieces of software. So your users will get a notification that says says that PR News is planning to be live at 12:15 CST. Get a reminder. You can do the same thing on YouTube. If you use StreamYard to program your YouTube lives, you can program it, I think, indefinitely into the future. I would suggest don't program it any more than, say, 3 days in advance. That then creates a little thumbnail on your users' YouTube channels. So when they're scrolling for something to watch, because we all are now, since we're at week, I don't even know, of quarantine, they'll see a little screen with the thumbnail that you've uploaded and the title. And it will say, for example, CompTIA will be live at 6 p.m. CST Wednesday. Click to be notified. So you can self-select and then get that notification. When they're live as well, it'll create a notification on YouTube, on Facebook, and on LinkedIn. What I talked about with the premieres on Facebook is that if you just upload a video to Facebook, it's just going to be there. It's a post, it's available in your video archives. If you use that premiere function, that notifies all of the people that follow you for that. So That's why all of those things are important to hack the system. So you're always getting that notification for people who have chosen to follow you. Hope that helps.
Gotcha. So I followed your advice, Kelly, and I did not use a script today, even though I did have a Word doc all ready to go word by word. But I thought, let the LinkedIn queen teach me as we go.
How did it go?
It went okay, but you know what? I actually forgot to read your bio, and we're getting sort of a wider question about PR. And what I wanted to mention is not only are you an accomplished social media communicator, but you also have a background in PR and in journalism. You are our PR News' nonprofit communicator of the year. A few years ago, you've won Mover and Shaker awards from our sister brand, The Social Shakeup. You're really kind of an all-around industry person. So somebody here, Abhishek, is asking if the pandemic has or will affected jobs in PR and communications. So what do you think about that? What are some of your predictions, perhaps?
It's hard to say. I personally feel like we probably haven't seen the bottom of what's going to happen as a result of the pandemic. I'm not an economist. I am at best an armchair investor who hopes to retire at some point in the future. But I think it's likely that we have not seen the end of this. So how that impacts PR jobs, I'm not entirely certain, but the world is always going to need professionals in this arena. The jobs may look a little bit different and the verticals may change. Certainly someone who works in public relations at a hospital has a different working strategy than somebody who works in public relations for a retailer. So the jobs will exist. We just may have to be a little more scrappy with our approach to them.
Cool. And speaking of scrappiness, as a DIY, kind of producer of these lives, do you have any suggestions? Bobby Egan is asking whether there are any preferred brands or companies for your lav mics and lights and any other kind of at-home video production gear that you're using.
For sure, Bobby. Thank you for queuing this up. If you follow me on LinkedIn, I'm Kelly E. Stone. I actually did a post where I linked directly to all the stuff that I use. I do have a ring light, only slightly regretful that I'm a person that owns a ring light now. I use Bluetooth headset, like just something that I got from Costco so that I don't look like I'm about to launch a rocket in a command center. And I already had an existing input lav that I used for live broadcasts in the office that I brought home with me. The only tricky part of my setup, frankly, was finding the right webcam. I don't know about you, Sophie, but everything was sold out here for weeks and weeks and weeks. My husband got up at 3 o'clock in the morning one day to order me a webcam from Best Buy. And that's how I got the current setup. I also found a green screen that I really liked, if that's an option for you. For me, with hair, I start to get like a little wavy, obviously part of the matrix looking view if I use a green screen, but it can be a powerful tool in helping to present a professional persona when you do these live broadcasts. And StreamYard does in fact work with a green screen. Unlike Zoom, where you need like a virtual background, you have to have a physical green screen for StreamYard. Hope that helps, Bobby.
Gotcha. Thanks. I saw that Disney was doing these branded Zoom backgrounds, and I thought, how fun would it be to watch a bunch of kids doing a conference call? As keep the kids.
I love that
video conferencing. Yeah. So we're coming toward the end. By the way, I think one of the best practices for LinkedIn Live is to keep them about 20, 25 minutes. You don't want to go super long. Correct me if I'm right or wrong.
Yeah. I mean, I usually just talk to length. When it's me talking to the camera, I've done it as short as like 3 minutes. The longest one that I've done has been 30 minutes. Don't recommend that. People eventually get restless. And then I start to fidget too. That's not good video.
Sure. So we're going to kind of start closing it out, but I did want to mention you are an avid chef and foodie and sporty runner person. So I was curious as to how you've been entertaining yourself while in quarantine.
It's certainly a big question because it's a weird time in which I've never been busier or more overwhelmed, but simultaneously bored with every option that's available to me. What I realized in being in quarantine is that I am a really good cook. However, I'm a really good cook at about 5 things. So I've had to expand my reach. And one of the blessings that we've had is our library has reopened for curbside pickups. So I've been ordering new cookbooks, trying new things. Most of them have been okay, but some of them have resulted in DoorDash trips to Taco Bell, which is totally fine too. And as you mentioned, I am a 3-time Ironman finisher. I do love to work out. I'm lucky that I had a lot of the capabilities to work out indoors because every gym in Illinois is still closed. I tried some of those Zoom workouts, but I realized that I just felt like an idiot with poor form. So I stick to running on the treadmill. That's safest.
Gotcha. Well, thank you so much for joining us today, Kelly. Again, Kelly Stone runs global social media for CompTIA. They're a really great trade organization doing workforce development, and I think we'll only continue to be in this transforming economy, pandemic economy that we're experiencing. So we do have a few resources and tools if you're interested in learning more from PR News in terms of social media. We do have a social media guidebook for sale, and my colleague Nicole will drop that link in the comments. And we also just put out a new edition of our crisis management guidebook, which includes some COVID best practices around communications, because that has really transformed how we're communicating and writing, and our whole business models are transforming. So of course, PR and communications are transforming. Thank you so much all for joining us today, and have a really good rest of your week. Thank you, Kelly.
Thank you.